Okay. Now this is our water installation. So we're always doing the installation of the pump, as you can see. So we are, first of all, we are trying to pump the first water under the ground. So we are first removing the first underground water. We pump it. Yeah, then after pumping, so because always in water construction or in water digging, when you use the new pump you are going to install, at times you find that you may spoil, or there may be again other mechanical problems in the installation of the pump. And times where we buy pumps, or people who sell pumps, they always have this tendency of saying that we gave you the pump when it was new. Remember, they always give us the guarantee, but they haven't tested these pumps to see that they are meeting the requirements. For us, we need to see that they have the pressure to pump the water down into the holes. And there are different prices of pumps. We have pumps which range from 400, 300 up to 1 million, 2 million. It depends on what you are going to use. So during this underground water construction, you can decide to put the solar panels, but solar panels with experience, they always disturb. So it's better use the generator. So when you use the generator or you connect it to the power, it does much of the work well, and even it minimizes the cost of repairing inconveniences on the farm. Remember, when you have birds, you have crops to irrigate in the greenhouse or in the field, they will need water constantly, and there has to be water. And you remember, animals have to take water ad libitum. We say why we say the word ad libitum, they take until they get tired. So these wells are in our company. When we want for us to construct for you, we have three options we can do. There is one for the underground water, which we can pump with electricity. Then we can use the generator, then with the solars. But solars, maybe when we pump here, then again we connect the water tanks. That's when the solar panels can work well. But in most cases, you can decide to put a drill with the jerry can. You cover it well, or you can install the pump. Those are the two procedures you can use. But then after the installation from here, of course, you have to connect the pumps you have to connect the pipes to the different tanks where you're going to put the water. Then you'll be pumping. Then there is also what we call the water testing. Of course, you have to know the pH of the water. The pH, when you talk of the pH, most people think of the alkalinity and the acidity. Yes. But also they have to check the water ions. Are they not poisonous? Can they kill the people? Can they kill the animals? We have to look at that. We have to test the pH of the water to see the water quality. We have to look into that. Then once all that is done, then at times, because when you register the company, you are given the certificate of registration, because this is a registered company. You are given, because all the procedures to register the company. Of course, you pay for URA, all those taxes you pay. So now we are pumping our first water into the ground. Now you see we are trying to fill the tanks with the first water. We are pumping. So after pumping that water, we want to see that things go on well. So after the pumping of the first water, then when we reach to clean water, we shall test the pH. Then we satisfy that the water is approved for animal use and the farm use. As you are seeing, this is we are trying to put on this branch of ours, this farm, as we do for other people. So this water can be used for irrigation, can be used for the satisfaction of the animals' requirements, nutrients. Remember, water contributes 60% of the animal's body weight, and also for the plant growth requirement. If you are to undergo horticulture, if you are to undergo horticulture, water can also help you. So you can put sprinklers after putting your water into the tanks. Then also at times you can irrigate. So those mainly are the procedures. So when you undergo such as underground water digging, you minimize costs of national water. There are some places where national water hasn't reached, and people haven't got access to water. And you know the major challenges Ugandans we are facing on farms, it's water. You have seen the places of Karamoja, Amdat, Pokot, you have seen in Nakasongola, of course, where people do not have access to water on their farms. So when you do the underground water setting and taking, you minimize costs. You know, you are the one who you only pay for the power, you only pay for the generator. Then there is no these cases that animals do not have water. You know, like if you are to undergo dairy production, you have to depend on water. Poultry production, you have to depend on water. Piggery, poultry, all these, the rabbit system, you have to undergo the water production. So that's what we do mainly when we decide to go into the installation of our own water. So I guess you can see the pumping of our first water. You can see. So because now the tank is full, and now you just count how much do you pay for the national water to fill this drum or the units you pay. So if you look into all those costs, then you also see, is it cost effective? Is it saving? Is it economical? Is it inconveniences? So once you use the right people who can do these things for you, it is very easy always to do things. So water installation, I think, is very, very important when you use satisfied people who can follow up the better procedures, the standards and the requirements needed. It becomes very easy for you to undergo. Remember, when you have water at the farm, if you are undertaking the crop production at the large scale, you can undergo production throughout the year. Remember that. Then also, with the animals, you can undertake still production throughout the year. So when the pumping is okay and the satisfaction is okay with you, the owner of the farm, things become very okay for you. So you and I, it's you to think twice and see which one does better for you, and of course which one works. I guess you can pump some in the garden, then you can see after here, you'll see how important it is, as we are saying. Remember the water percolation into the soil, the water infiltration, the rate, the requirement is always high during the dry season. And remember the water requirement for the crops, you know, the water capacity in the soil. We look also into that. So, but when you have your own irrigation, things becomes okay for you. So he can irrigate the onions, then listen, things can work for you better. So during the water establishment, such things can do better. Then also, you don't wait for the rain to rain. And I think it's one of the major challenges most of the Ugandans are facing. They have failed to meet the required costs, the standard costs, you know, of what. Of course, there is always interruption in the water seasons. So we always look into that, then we see. So if you want to do horticulture, to go into crop production, all things can work for you, can do for you. Then even the establishment and the setup will do better for you. So you decide to think twice before you are doing. Because as I've told you, one of the most challenges the crop farmers in Uganda are facing, it is the inaccessibility to water. We have to depend on the rain season. And remember, most of the parts in this country also, they are not near to the wells, they are not near to the swamps where they can pump and put these generators, the pumps, to pump their water. But when you accept to do this, it becomes very easy for you and very cheap and very productive. As you will see with the time, we shall set up a sprinkler and even the water generator to see how we can irrigate our crops. So when we do that, it becomes very, very for us to do the production throughout the year. We minimize on the costs. Remember, we meet the demand. Because of course, if you want to go into horticulture, they are very different. There are different seasons and there are very different demands every year. Every year, every season has different demands. Right now on the market, the prices for tomatoes have gone down because they are in plenty. Remember, when farmers we grow, when they're in plenty, of course, what we call price fluctuations into the produces we do in the gardens, things becomes not okay for us. So there are a lot of factors we can look at, but remember, you consider water as very one of the major key factors. If you want to go into large animal reproduction, large crop production sector, that's what we have to look at into. Remember, after doing your pump installation, you can always go into the water tanks. Then you organize your water. Of course, there's also what we call water treatment. You have to treat the water, because we look at the microorganisms, the bacteria, we look at that. But this side, we are not looking at the gram negative and the gram positive, as some scientists go into that. We are looking at the water quality, the physical properties of the water, the biological properties of the water, the chemical properties of the water. When we are doing that, we look into all that. It is the same thing if you want to go to do fish farming. It is the same thing. You can decide to pump your water and you set up that. So all that, there are factors to be considered when you are to do that. Of course, when you want to progress into fish farming, you look into all that. Of course, you have to do what you call also water test. So underground water is always the best, because once you undergo this tap water where there is chlorine, remember chlorine at times may not favor the biological environment, for the fish. We look at the environment where we have to do the fish farming. So all that has to be considered as a factor to be looked at into. So it is I and you to decide what to do when you want to do that. So this is natural water. After going into the construction and the setup, things can always be better for you. So you decide, you either undergo the pumping, or you undergo national water, or you undergo the village borehole, or you undergo the community borehole. But we believe that natural water is always the best, because the cations, the water cations in the water, they are minimized. And you know the cations. When I talk of the cations and the ions, we look at the nutrient requirements. How much does the water require? As I told you, how big is the water infiltration into the ground? We look into that, because remember, when it rains very little and the soil is not wet, all such factors are to be looked at. Because remember, the better the dampness of the soil, the better the establishment of the crop growth. You're already meeting the plant requirement growth.